Hi, welcome to Chops Garage, and today you catch me in a darkened unit. I can't even bring myself to open the shutters today. Let me tell you why. The reason is it's one of those months. So those of you that follow the channel regularly will know I am a small car dealer, and as much as people like to think it's all about just bringing cars in, washing them off, and making bucket loads of money, those that follow regularly will know that the car trade is very much ups and downs, and some of the troughs can be very big. The peaks aren't as big as you'd like them to be versus the troughs, but that's the reality. Now, had a bit of a quiet month this month anyway, which a few people have been saying. I think that's probably more on me than it is the market. I didn't have a lot of cars ready at the beginning of the month. It's taken me a while to get them ready during the month. So I've only really been advertising a lot of them probably for the last we've got a few days left of the month, but the last 10 days of the month. So that may well affect it. But other people have told me they've been a bit quiet as well. That's off the back of a number of very busy months. So let's not put too much of a downer on that. The thing that's really going to kick me is, as well as being a low month, is I have just had a little wave of warranty claims. Now, normally I'd say in any given month, warranty claims aren't particularly high. If I send, say, 15, 20 odd cars out the door, I might get one or two warranty claims. So bear in mind, again, I'm selling cars that are around about 10 years old with anywhere sort of average, let's say average of 80,000 miles on them. They're cars that, as we say time and time again on this channel, most of the components on the car are coming to end of life. So it's not the cars are bad, they will just need repair because they're that age. We do new advisory free MOTs on the cars before we go out. If they do a service within the next 6 months, we do a service, we road test them for about an hour or so. And the guys down at the garage that I use have an open checkbook to get any work done they feel needs doing. So the cars do go out fully prepped. But once someone goes out there, as I say again, time and time again, once someone goes out there and starts using the car on a daily basis, day in, day out, for a few months, things can come to light. And, things can, wear out in that time. They may have been fine when it came to the checks previously, but they can wear out within that time. So what have we had in terms of warranty claims? So it'd be interesting as we go through the warranty claims to see what your feedback is on sort of the age of the car and how far long you think someone should be responsible as a dealer for these items as we do them. That's always an interesting debate to have. So, and obviously bearing in mind that warranties, whatever people might think, you put a warranty on a car, I think there seems to be some kind of belief that when you put a warranty on a car, it covers every component on the car. Otherwise, you should say there's no warranty at all, which I don't agree with. So if a car is 5 years old versus 10 years old and 50,000 miles versus 100,000 miles, you can warranty both of them for 3 months. But I think it's fair to say that the older car, less of the components should be warranted than on the newer car. And by saying that, I don't think it completely devalues having a warranty on the car, because there's still very large components you wouldn't want to put in your hand in your pocket for that would be covered. So, for example, as I've said before, you might say on a 10-year-old car with 80,000 miles, I'll cover the body control unit, I'll cover the engine ECU, I'll cover the gearbox, I'll cover the engine, but I won't necessarily cover, say, your electric windows, I won't cover your stereo, I won't cover things like your shock absorbers and your springs, but I will cover those major components. Whereas, say, something that's, say, 5 years old, I say, yeah, I'll cover your springs, I'll cover your shock absorbers as well, I'll cover your exhaust system. I think that's entirely fair to say. Some people can disagree with that, which I do think is strange, because I'm not sure how much they would expect somebody to pay over and above a private sale on a 10-year-old 80,000 mile car if the dealer's supposed to cover every single component on it. The gap wouldn't be £500, would it? It'd be £2,000 or so, I would have thought. Anyway, I digress. So what claims have we had? So we've had a 66 plate Skoda Yeti that went out the door. And that needed an ABS sensor doing straight away. That's fine. But now we've had a phone call after it's been out for, is it a month yet? Maybe not a month yet, saying she's having to top up the coolant a bit. I don't think that's been since day dot. I think it's a more recent thing. Looks like, I would imagine those 2-litre diesels are pretty reliable. I don't hear of head gaskets, that kind of thing. I suspect we've either got a water leak from the radiator or a water leak from the water pump, that kind of thing. So that's got to be booked in and checked out. But either way, there'll be a decent spend to be had on that. I think that one's quite open and shut because it's very early on in the process. It's losing coolant. 66 plate. It has done 120,000 125,000 miles. I will say that, although it's fairly new for me, it has done 125,000 miles. So, and I did put a 3-month warranty on it. There are a lot of people out there would say you'd only do a month's warranty on a car at that age, but yeah, again, be interested in your feedback down below. So that one's come in. We've got a Ford C-Max that went out, I would say probably 2 months ago. A 66 plate Ford C-Max with 50,000 miles on it. The customer's having an issue where the brake pedal, the clutch pedal is sticking to the floor sometimes and have to lift it with their foot. Not all the time, every now and then. We don't know whether it's concentric slave cylinder, we don't know whether it's the master cylinder. Unfortunately, it's got a concentric slave cylinder, which means that the slave cylinder, which used to be on the outside of gearboxes when people had common sense, and if it went you could replace it easily, they now put inside the gearbox bell housing, which means you have to take the gearbox off to get to it. So we don't know if there's that or whether it's the master cylinder, which will live on the bulkhead of the car there. It could be either or. I suspect it does relate to either of those, rather than the pedal in the car itself. So what would have to happen there is we need to get it diagnosed. Now, he did talk about using someone up his way. The only fear with that is part starts, is that somebody gets it wrong and then wants to replace another component afterwards. So we're going to get it back to our Moores guys to have a check. Now, what I have said to that customer is if it turns out it's the concentric slave cylinder inside the bell housing, we will have the gearbox off. At that point, you might decide you want to put a new clutch in, because otherwise, if you have to do a clutch at a later date, that all has to come off again. There is obviously no reason for me as a dealer to pay for the clutch, because I'm going to be doing the problem, the fault that exists, which is the concentric slave cylinder. But nobody in their right mind, when the gearbox was off the car, wouldn't put a new clutch in, because all the customer would have to pay for is the actual clutch friction plate and the release bearing. And they wouldn't be paying for all the labour of the gearbox coming off. So I've suggested to them, if that's the problem, I would suggest that they get it done at the same time and they pay that proportion of the bill. So again, that was a 66 plate with 50,000 miles on, the clutch pedal sticking after a couple of months. Okay, so we've got that one. So that's 2 so far. Number 3, I've just picked up a message from our subscriber who bought our 1992 Saab 900 Turbo convertible that had 80,000 miles on. He's had that for a couple of months now, I believe. If you remember, we got that car in. It had been standing for about 10 years. We put a new clutch in it. We put it for an MOT. Test drive was all good. He came, picked it up and drove it all the way to Ireland. Now, he has had a problem that's just happened, and his turbo has gone. He's left me a message asking for that to be covered by warranty. So the turbo's just gone. He's gone all upside of the car, so it looks like he's going to need a turbo rebuild on that one. Now, obviously, that is a very old car. That's 1992 with 80,000 miles on it. Has obviously got him all the way to Ireland from North Devon, all the way to Ireland, driven all the way there. So it's fair to say that when the vehicle left, that wasn't a fault at point of sale. And the car was reliable enough to get that far. What do we think? Get in the comments down below. I'd be interested to say. I mean, don't get me wrong, this subscriber's brilliant. He's just asking a question, would it be covered? I'd be interested in people's feedback below as to whether you think it would be or not. But that one, if we get involved in that, even if it's a contribution, you know, we could probably already be up to, across those 3, perhaps into over £1,000 worth of work. Right, warranty claim number 4. Is it a warranty claim? I'm not sure. So customer took a Kia Rio out a couple of 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago, took a Kia Rio out, and they have called to say that that was a 2013 with 90,000 miles on it. That I don't know if he classes as a warranty claim or not. It'd be interesting to see whether you would get it done. But I hadn't noticed it, to be honest. It's a cosmetic thing. The passenger seat, the recliner for the back seat, is missing its handle. It's got the metal bit coming out, but it hasn't got the plastic handle over the top. So they were asking about that, and they said that the handbrake, they've pulled it up a couple of times, and they needed to pull it up higher, and they don't think it should have to go quite that far. So they'd like us to look at the handbrake on it. And obviously that had a brand new MOT went outdoor, so it's clearly passed the handbrake test. And I think my guys might have done some brakes work on it as well. So that one should be relatively low cost. I have no idea how I would go about finding the cover for the seat. If anybody's got any clever ideas down below, or should I be doing it at all? Interesting question again. Another one, Fiat 500 we sold about a month ago. I told you they're all hitting me in one lump. I haven't had this many claims across probably, I'd say 4 months or so. Same sort of cars I normally do, same sort of age. Law of averages says it's going to happen every now and then, doesn't it? Fiat 500, customer says he's got a little bit of a knock, he thinks, from one of the front wheels. Again, that being down, advisory free MOT. Spent quite a lot of money on that, put a new exhaust system on it, put some tyres on it. Did some brakes, I think, that kind of thing. Did quite a bit. And that one was 2009 with, I want to say 50,000 miles on it. I think it was 2009 with 50,000 miles on it. So he's got a bit of knock from suspension, but he's also asked, he said he's seeing a little bit of water on the driveway. Not a lot, but a little bit of water when he's on the driveway. Car isn't overheating, so I'm not sure where that's coming from. So that's got to be checked out as well. Difficult one to say what that's going to be as to whether it would be covered by warranty or not, because it's difficult to say what the problem is until the guys have assessed it. But if there's a knock on the suspension and we've got some bushing gone or something like that, that's a difficult one again. It's past MOT, advisory free, so they should have then checked to see if there's any play in the bushings when they did it. But it is fairly early on in the process, and I guess the guys will come back to me as to whether they can track that knockdown or not. So final one, potential biggest one, I shouldn't say final one because this month it seems to be all hitting me on top, so there could be more to come, is we did a video recently on our brilliant buyer Dave, I think it was Dave, wasn't it? Sorry. Who had the Hyundai i40 off me, and he fixed what did he fix himself? He fixed the cruise control button by pulling it out and putting a bit of cleaner on it, and also downloaded the sat-nav map for his sat-nav to update it because I wasn't getting in the right location. He's rung and we've had a little chat, and he said that occasionally, every now and then, he's got a noise coming from the engine bay and he's not sure what it is. He thinks it might relate to the timing chain, but we're not 100%. Now, the thing with it is if a timing chain is bad, normally it will always rattle from cold. It won't be occasionally. If you've got a tensioner that's weak, that can be occasional, but normally, again, that will pretty much always do it when you start the car from cold, because the oil pressure will have gone from the tensioner. When you start it from cold before it gets oil pressure, it will allow the chain to rattle a bit. If the chain is stretched, it will normally rattle pretty much all the time. And if it's out enough, it will give you an engine code as well. It's a difficult one to say because it literally is sounding like it can go days without doing it, and it does occasionally. So if anybody's had that with the 1.7 diesel in a Kia, or I think it's Kia and Hyundai, that engine, isn't it? Let me know, because it doesn't tie up with any sort of timing chain issue I've ever had before. And normally that's fairly consistent, that happening. Anyway, what we've said at the moment is he's had that car for probably a month, I'd say. So it's quite obvious why I probably never noticed it do it, because obviously I only drove it a couple of times. Again, for those that people say drive the cars more, we've got to be realistic people here. I drive them for more than I think most people do. I probably drive each car for at least an hour, but I can't drive 20 cars in a month for 3 or 4 days at a time, can I? It's never going to happen. Even then, it could go out the door and still have problems later on. So that's probably why I didn't notice it, because it was only happening very occasionally. And it obviously didn't happen on the 2 times he test drove it with me. So there's nothing we can really do other than monitor it. I said, look, sometimes things have to get worse before we can establish what it is. And in that scenario, what I always say to people, look, you flagged it straight away. You've noted it's a fault early on. So it's not a case of when the warranty runs out, I'm going to go, oh, no, that's not covered anymore, because it was a known fault potentially at point of sale. But sometimes people think you're blagging them, but you sometimes do need something to get a bit worse before you can correctly identify it. Because at the moment, the only option would be strip the side of the engine down, have a look to find there's nothing wrong, put it back again, and spend a crap load of money for something that doesn't solve the problem. So that's what we're going to have to do. We're going to have to monitor, but that obviously could be a very substantial bill. So like I say, with a slow month sales-wise and an awful lot of bills coming in for warranties, it could get you down. It could get you down if you're gaming. I know a lot of people watching my channel have considered moving into car sales, car trading, and you have to have that mindset where you can't let sort of a knockback get you down, otherwise you'd never carry on doing it. You have to realize that it is very much ebbs and flows. But one of the reasons, like I say, that I do these videos is I'm interested in people's feedback on what they think is reasonable and unreasonable when it comes to warranties, but also to realize that, you know, again, we've got to dispel this idea that it's a case of people buying cars from auction, throwing a bucket over them, sending them out the door and making huge profits. If you want dealers to help you when there's a problem with your car, you also can't nail them to the ground on discounts. Look at what the fair price is for the car. Auto Trader will tell you what a fair price is for it. And if the car's already at good or great or fair price, then if you want, like say, help when problems go wrong with the car, you need to pay that price instead of trying to knock £300-500 off on top and then come back if there's issues later on. In this scenario, one thing that has helped me quite a lot is, I think I discussed it in earlier videos, I've stopped paying for third-party warranty companies to put warranties on my cars. I'm self-warranting them. I print off my own warranty documentation, and every time I do one of those, I put aside a little bit in a pot. And over the course of doing that over the last few months, I think I've saved, it must be getting on about £7,000 or £8,000, I think, in not paying third-party warranties out. I think we know that a lot of the third-party warranty companies wouldn't cover a lot of the things that I'm considering doing here as we discuss these claims, or are doing. They'd consider some of them either I haven't got to point of failure yet, so there isn't anything to replace. Because in the case of bits of trim in the car, that kind of thing, then they just wouldn't do it at all, because you buy the car as you see it at the point of sale. I'm sure the trolls are in the comments down below saying cry me a river, all that kind of thing. I always add the caveat that, yeah, I do, you know, I got to a point of making a good, decent living doing this job. I do enjoy it a lot. I do enjoy doing the cars. I enjoy my customers. I enjoy the process of prepping and sending the cars out. It's never great when they come back, and it's never great when you have to spend more money on them. But this is, again, the reason I would say that I'm fairly, you know, if you are going to provide the kind of service I'd like to, you have to be fairly tough on your prices and really do keep decent margins in the car. You certainly can't be sending cars out of £500 a unit profit and then agree to do a lot of things we're talking about here today, or warranty them for much longer than a 30-day period. So yeah, get down into the comments down below. I'd be interested to know your thoughts on each of one of those warranty claims and which ones you would expect a dealer to do, and if there's any you wouldn't expect a dealer to do, and how long you'd expect a dealer to cover things on the sorts of age of vehicle we're doing. It's always interesting to get your feedback. As always, many thanks for watching the video, and I'll catch you on the next one. Don't forget, our latest raffle is live for this fantastic Mercedes CL500. This raffle will be supporting Ability FC, which is a non-profit football club in Barnstable for those with special needs or learning disabilities. The CL500 just had a brand new MOT. It's in fantastic condition. It's also been freshly serviced. And I'm throwing in the first year's road tax. Tickets are just £2 each. There'll be a link in the video description down below. There's an early bird offer as well, where you can get 20% off your tickets. If you missed all about this car, it is in the previous video on Chops Garage. You can see all about this car, test drive, look around it and everything. Best of luck to you all.